Kum Lenin Ablat Gemara. We are up to Tes Amid Aleph, the middle of the page. By the two dots, actually, about 7 lines at the bottom of the page, 6 lines. Just to quickly remind you, the Mishnah said, if you preface your comments by saying, I want to make a neder like the Rishonim make a neder, because they have a habit of making a Nedarim, then whatever you're going to say afterwards is a proper neder. But if you say, Kenidrik Shadim, like the Tzaddikim or kosher people make a neder, it's not a neder, because kosher people don't make a Nedarim willy-nilly. But if you said Kididvoisam, like the Nedava of kosher people, then it's all right. And now we're going to try to understand what is the difference between a neder and a Nedava. Why is it a neder? Kosher people don't want to make vows and oaths. They don't want to get into the habit. And why a Nedava is all right. So up to the Gemara here, 6 lines in the bottom of the page. Kenidik Shadim lo amaklum. If you said Kenidik Shadim, there's not a neder. But if you say Kenidvasam, then neder is a neder. And then, of course, we already said that you have to follow up by saying, whether you can eat, you're not going to eat, and all that. Or we said it's on hareini or a lie, depends. And also the circumstances of a nozir is walking by, and then you said that, I will be. So obviously you mean a nozir. Now, so you want a man Tana, who is the author of our Mishnah? The Shanyalon that makes a distinction by neder and neder, because we're going to see in a minute, is a machlekes, the chalal, if making the dorim is a good thing, if you keep your neder, is it a good thing, or it's still better not to make the dorim at all? Lema would seem, and neither of them make a distinction between neder or nedava. Lema, let us say, loy Rabbi Meir and veloy Rabbi Yehuda, it's neither one. And the Gemara is going to conclude that it could be either one, as we will explain. So the Tanya, we learned, it says in Pasuk, the best thing is, the Pasuk says, toiv asher loy tidder, the best thing is not to make a neder, misha tidder, veloy teshalom, making a neder and not keeping it. So there's 3 possibilities. One is you make a neder and you do keep it. One is you make a neder and you don't keep it, and one you don't make a dharma at all. So how do we understand this pasuk? So we're going to see there's a few ways of learning it. Rameya learns that you put a full stop after what Taiva Shalot Tidder. Best thing is don't make a dharma at all. And then he says, Tidder making a neder, even if you keep it, and surely if Veloita Shalom you don't keep it. So Rameya holds that best thing is don't make the dharma. Even if it's a good neder, don't make the dharma. However, Rabbi Yehuda is going to learn that it's only better not to make a neder if you're not going to keep it. But if you're going to keep it, then it's a good thing because it motivates you to do whatever the right thing is. So, the time we learned, the best thing is a mayor. Don't make the darim, give it a mayor, because he learned full stop. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says, no, the best thing is, you make a neder and you actually keep it, that is the best thing. And that's better. So but neither of them say there's a difference between a neder and a davar. It's all the same. So how come our Mishnah says neder no, the davar yes? If neder is no, that's Rameya. No, the davar is also no. And if the davar is good like Rabbi Yehuda, then the neder is also good. So first we're going to say that our Mishnah can conform with Rameya, and then the ending we'll say it could also be Rabbi Yehuda. Stop at Rameya. I feel it him Rameya. Rameya holds it's not a good idea to make a davar. The davars are different. Keep on Rameya only by neder. But Nedava like Kamar. May was not talking about Nedava. The pasuk says Toiv Asher Lo Tidder, so therefore he's talking about Nedarim, and he's telling you, I don't want you to make Nedarim. But Nedava is a different story. Now, why should Nedava be different? So first thing, I want to ask a question. Well, Tony, in our Mishnah it says, in our Mishnah it says, if you make like you said, like a Nedava of Shadim, and then it says that Nodar ben Nazir It says clearly here that if you use the word Ned, it's all right. In our Mishnah, it says if you do advice from that is good. You're telling me that no, that only Nedav is good. Gemara say, and the Rana explains why this is a question of May. Which forget about the May. Forget about you. In our Mishnah, how do you understand? It starts off with Voisam, and then it talks about a Neder. Yes, and Gemara, what do you call it? Tani Nadav. Change the word in our Mishnah around. It says Kinidvoisam. The next word is not Nodar, but actually Nodav. Okay, so technical, we got rid of all the technicalities. But tell me, why do you tell me that a neder you cannot make? What's the problem with the neder? Why didn't they make nedarim? Because it can go awry. For example, you say, I'm going to bring a korban, and you don't bring it on time. You're able to acher. Or we said before that the Nedarim is Baal Ta'acha, so you're delaying, you're incurring an Aveda. So they didn't get into the habit of making the Nedarim because there's a possibility you'll do Baal Ta'acha. Nu, Nedav Nami, and if you say Nedav is that this animal should become, let's say, a carbon, right? That's the difference between you say upon me or an animal. What's the difference? Isn't it a problem as well? And what possible problem could be by Nadava? So Rashi says here, and the Russian and many of the Shem here say, there is no Baal Ta'acher when it comes to Nadava. When is Baal Ta'acher upon myself? If I take it upon myself to be a carbon, then I have three. We're having more Roshani. Over the Machlek is 3 Yom Tovim, 1 Yom Tov, Sukkot, whatever it is. The Baal Ta'acher, but not when it comes to Nadava. Everyone asks the Gemara Roshana clearly says it does, and they try to then work it out. The Rishonim here generally learn there's no Baal Ta'acher. So what is the problem by Nadava? The problem by Nadava is you have a holy animal there. What if you start shearing the wool? Or you moil, sorry?
It's a move.
But if it gets moved, you didn't do anything wrong. What can you do wrong? Takala, you do something wrong. You share the wool, it's a carpet. Or you moil, exactly. So that's what the problem is. No, so the same thing. So why did these shading, the same shading was so worried about coming to the color, had no problem with doing making an adova. So I'll tell you the difference. Kihil Hazakin, like Hillel Hazakin. What's the story with Hillel Hazakin? The Tanya we learned, Amru Allah Hazakin, they said regarding Hillel Hazakin, Shalai Moal Adam by Lasa Kol Yama, was never possible to ever be moil in his carbon oil. If he set aside an animal being oil, nobody can ever be moil. Why not? Because while the animal, before he consecrated it, he brought it to the base of English. Doesn't mean in Nazar, you're not bring chul Nazar, be outside Nazar. Magdisha, right by the portal there, the entrance of the base of English. That's when he made a kodesh, and immediately and then and he shachted it. So therefore, it's not shaykh to be mil. So buying the dove, you can make sure there's nothing goes all right. Buying neder, even if things can go wrong. Could you go about the acher? Now, Bachlek is a shaynim. So what are you telling me? That the only time you can make an adova is if the animal's standing next to the base of Mikdash. If your animal's at home, you cannot make an adova because they wouldn't do that. Like Hillel Hazakin only did it then. Or once you found that they used that word adova, even though the circumstance was limited, once they use the word adova, we can use it for any way. It doesn't matter if the animal's at home. If you say shadim, it becomes a carbon. That's how many are trying to. Okay, there's a way of circumventing the problems by carbon. You bring the animal to the base of Mikdash. Okay, nothing can go right. What about the David and the Zidus? If you say Harei Alai and you bring it and you want to do something by Neder, say bring the animal to right after the base of Mikdash and make a Neder. But things can still go wrong, and that is the animal dies. If the animal dies right then and there, or gets a mum right then and there, you have to go bring another one. Oh, start all over again. Problems. Now, showing by the dove, the animal dies right then and there, gets a mum, finished. It's over. Okay, but by Nazidus, why would Shadim do the dove of Nazidus? What are you going to say there? Plus, you can have Baltach there as well. The Kabbanis says the Gemara. Sovalok is Shimon HaTzadik. He holds like Shimon HaTzadik. What's that? The Tanya we learned. Omer Shimon HaTzadik miyom ma'lo echalti. I would never eat Hasham Nazir Tameh. I would never eat the carbon of a Nazir that could be lit of a Nazir. A Nazir generally brings a chatas and a oila and a shlami. But if he becomes tamei, he brings a carbon ashram. I would never eat that ashram from a Nazir became tamei. And why not? El echad only once. Pamachas once. Ba'odam echad Nazir min hadorim. There's a Nazir that came from the south. But the east, and I saw Shifei Anaim. The guy was so handsome. He had a very good appearance. The kvitzois of Sududas like Taltalim, and I saw that his hair was curled and was just a very handsome young man. Yeah, like locks. Amarti loy beni. I said to him, "You're Nazir. You come to the base of English to go through his kabbanis, and then he was taking a haircut." Amarti loy beni. A crew cut. Mara isa lahashkiz aserechaz hano. Why in the world are you destroying this beautiful? You want to know what his motivation was. He wanted to tease out of him. Omali, Omali told me, Roya Hayisi la Abba. That was amazing. I was a shepherd for my father, Be'idi in my city. Halachti lamalos mayim and hama'ayin. I once went to the spring to draw water. V'nestakalti bebush. I never had a mirror. Who looked in mirror? It's lesilbash. Men never looked in mirrors. But I looked and I saw my reflection in the water. And I realized how handsome I was. And my Yetzer Hara was saying, wow, so many doors can open for you. And the Yetzer Hara started talking to me, take advantage of your beauty. Russia. I had a conversation with my Yisrael. I said, "You Russia, Lama Atam is go. What are you being so haughty about? But you think you're the balabas of this world? But Mishu Asadli is you want my body that eventually will be a rima with Teleya. My body eventually will end up with worm infested with worms, and so on. I swear, my hair is trying to seduce me. I am going to remove you. I'm going to do the Shemaim in a way that it's a mitzvah. If I'm taking a haircut, it's not it. So miyad amalati, and that's why I became a nazir. When you're a nazir, there's a mitzvah to take sorry, yeah. Miyad amalati, I went when the shakti varosh, I kissed him on his head. Amarti lebeni kamoicha yirbu noize yisrael nazir b'sahalabai, that this should be the motivation for all the nazirim that do the purely the Shem Shemaim, not because they're angry. Shem Shemaim. Alecha kosav omer, regarding you, the pasuk says, "Ish ki yafli linda neder nozer laha linda neder nozer lahazel lahashem." Your motivation was purely lahashem. He never realized that it's a problem. And his son was a young kid. He might not even have been bar mitzvah that were trillion yet.
So this is why he had his Hashem.
So such if it was a we'll see in a minute. So even though the Shem Shemayim, but if it came to me by mistake, whatever it is, I would eat his Hashem. I don't understand. Maskibla have money, not finish it. Maishna Hashem Nazir Tomei Dla'acha. Why wouldn't he eat the Hashem Nazir Tomei? Sounds like could the Asel Chet, because he committed a sin, right? He became tummy. No kol Hashem is not milalechel. And why put Hashem Nazir? Anytime he did a korban chatas and Hashem mitzvah, he did it on Aveda. So no, if you every time you did an Aveda, why eat it that korban? Sounds like the only time he would not eat a korban stafka from a nazir, a tummy, because it comes on for Aveda. What does that mean? The Gemara says, "Oh, let be the time." You know the reason is it follows. Most people, why do they become a nazir? Machlek is showing you what exactly shein toy. So Rashi says because he gets angry. He's in a bad mood. He's angry. He hates the world. I'm becoming a nazir. Or he hates his relations. I don't want anything to do. I'm not going to join you. I'm not going to drink wine and whatever. That's one way of looking at it. Other way is the other Shailin Shein Toyim. We're going to have him in Kedusha. Remember that he's constantly worried that maybe he's anxious. Maybe I did an Aveda. Maybe I did an Aveda, and therefore he thinks I had to have a kapara. As a result, he becomes a nazir because a nazir bring a chatas and an asham. So therefore, that's like a kapara for this should be a kapara if I ever did anything wrong, and they're always very apprehensive. Navas. So therefore, when they came a nazir for their own personal benefit, nothing to do with the Eibishter. They for the Dinavedi, as lofty, as noble as it is, they did it for themselves. But and so what? And 30 days is not so easy. And then when they become tamei, and suddenly the Robin Aleini May Naziris, now they have to, for all the days that counted till now is gone, they have to wait 7 days to become tired, bring the kabbalah and start afresh. Mischartin behen. Many of them have charata. Why did I do this in the first place? The nimtzu mevin chulul lazara comes out that when they became tamei and during the tumah they said, "Oh, what did I just do? Why did I take on the zidus? So how difficult it is. I'm going to start all again."
So what the charata renders the carbon?
Now all that I'm trying to say, you can't because it's a neder. You can't be. You have to be master neder. But it's as if you're being chulul lazara because your heart is no longer in there, and therefore I don't want to be part of that carbon. That's why I wouldn't. All other kabbanas you didn't have you bring a carbon. So what's wrong with that? Here, the motivation was not really proper, and because you had charata, I don't want to be involved in that. Except this kid over here who did l'chatchila, not because he felt, exactly. If it becomes tamei, he won't have any regrets. He still needs the Shem Shemayim. So therefore, I would eat from his carbon. Ready Gemara, so if you tell me the book.
It's a result of becoming.
Yeah, I don't know becomes tamei, but he's not going to have charata on the fact that he became a nazir. Even if,
I'm saying that tumah you're talking about, it's only she'ilu, it's tamei.
No, tumah's mess. If he touched it, he went to the cemetery.
No, I thought the whole
once he became tamei, and the rabbi tells them, "Sorry, my friends, the 15 days." That right then and there, he said, "Oh, what do I do?" Exactly. So then I feel nazir toy nami. So nazir also. After 5, 6, 7 days, of being a nazir, and you realize how difficult it is. Can't drink any wine, can't socialize. Then maybe he also has charata. Why punct the nazir tamei? Saying no. Nazir toy loy amudi amenafshe. The yochel linder. He knows it's only 30 days. So he calibrated the whole thing. 30 days, I can handle it. But here it suddenly became 45 days, 50 days, 60 days. and that he didn't allow for. That's where his charav. So what do we have here? So Nadava also, there's a Nadava of kosher by Nazir as well, if the motivation is right, like Shimon HaTzadik. So that's one way of learning Pshat. So one of the Pshat is that the Mishnah goes to Meir, that Taka, we don't want you to make it dirty, but the Dava is all right. Because the Dava, either you make sure there's nothing goes wrong because you bring the animal to the base of Mikdash and you do it over there, no meila, or by Nazir, if your motivation is pure. Or using the same line of reasoning, I can say fakir. But Meir holds no difference. Ned and the Dava don't make promises. Don't make promises. Do it, so do it. Don't make promises. Now, Yehuda says that if you could, the best thing is to make promises. He was talking about the Dava, not Neder. Afilu Rabbi Yehuda. He Rabbi Yehuda ben Dava. What Rabbi Yehuda said, it's a good thing to do. He was talking about the Dava. Ben Dava, ben Neder lo He never said by Neder. In other words, we were changing the whole side around. I mean, I was never. Rabbi Yehuda says yes, it's a good thing. And when he says a good thing, he meant only the Dava. He says the Gemara about Tony. He wrote Toiv Mezeh Umezeh Noider Mekayim. He writes clearly the best thing is to make a neder and fulfill it. And now you tell me it's a Dava. Or says like we said before. Tani, we'll just swap them around. Noider Bumekayim. Said Gemara. Let's understand the sword as well. It's called the Maishna Noider Deloi. Why not neder Dilma Osibod the Kola? He might come to do the Kola. The Dava now meet him as the Kola. The same question before. And the Gemara could have given the same answer from Hillel Azakin. Instead, we have a better Rabbi Yehuda himself. Rabbi Yehuda Tamei, Rabbi Yehuda is consistent with Yehuda. He says that maybe Kivastoi La Azora, a person will bring a shepsela to the Azora, Magdisha, and he would go ahead and make it Kodesh, and then do Smicha v'Sheich, like Hillel, but this is he himself. So this is even better. But he himself says that, that's how they used to do it. So trade him in the Dava, no problem. The Karbonas, the Dova is my equal member. Which Nazir is coming? Again, we could have asked Shimon Tzadik, but we answered Rabbi Yehuda Tamei. But Rabbi Yehuda has his own. It's better to say it's consistent with you. Tanya, learn Rabbi Yehuda said, very interesting. Chasidim Harushanim, the early Chasidim, Hayimis Avin Lahavi Karbachatas. They brought every single carbon possible, but a Karbachatas they couldn't bring. Because
they never did any Avodah.
Exactly. The only way to bring Avodah is Avodah, but
you had a time to bring this carbon.
At the time to do every mitzvah, including the mitzvah of Karma Chatz. They couldn't. That's how most of the time. Rashi's first shot is very interesting. Rashi's first shot is, I told you last time, Rashi is not really Rashi, even though I found a few times the Rosh says Pirush HaKuntrus, and this is the Rashi right here. So there was a Rashi on the Nedarim clear. Now the question is whether the Rashi we have here is that or not, or if it's not, maybe parts of it, because they say it's a collection of Rishayim, parts of it might be Rashi, parts of it might be others. I'm not even sure who they are. Anyway, the first part of Rashi is they thought that maybe they did, they don't want to make sure they do no Avedas, so they wanted to bring a Karban Chatzos to forgive them on all the Avedas. But it says that the Eibush does not bring a takola. By tzaddikim, they should not bring a takola to them. So therefore, they didn't know if they ever did an aveda or not. So they couldn't really bring the chatzos because maybe they did not do an aveda. Did do an aveda. They don't know what aveda is. But the inside about it, maybe they did an aveda. On the other hand, it says the Eibush should make sure that there's no takola yedayim. We already had before. So they were sort of they didn't know what to do. What do they do?
Do you think it's a very strange expression? Maybe takola on the day of Ki'ilu, when Chalila, someone is a chayter, it's the Eibishter who brought takola to him. It's
the Ramban and Pasha Lech Lecha. We hebben zich in geelijk hey, geelijk in de stiege beest. Is that what you're talking about here? The Ramban holds it was an Aveda as he went to Mitzrayim. It was not an Nisayin, it was an Aveda that he did, and yet we count it as an Nisayin. I mean that even while you do, if you believe everything I've got a practice, even while you're doing an Aveda, they just give you the highest Aveda. But the purpose is in order for you to do tshuva. Anyway, so what do they do? What's the remedy? There's one way of bringing a karma chatzis, but there's no Aveda involved. Come a nazir. So they became a nazir in order to bring a karma chatzis. He says, if you ain't a kodesh baruch hu the kol hayeden, what do they do? And the purpose was in order that they should bring a karban chatas l'makom, in order they should bring a karban chatas to the Eibishter. So therefore, again, that's nidrik shay, that's nidvus nazir of a kosher, not like Shimon HaTzadik said because what do you call it? Because they became a nuzul of Shashmai like that kid, but rather they wanted to bring the Karban Chatas. Rab Shimon says, like Noder ben Nazir, Rab Shimon disagrees. He says, nope, they did not go ahead and become a Nazir in order to bring a Karban Chatas. None of us. Maybe you can bring a Karban Oil as a volunteer. Shlami misnadim, maybe the one bring Karban Shlami, you can bring a voluntary Karban Shlami. A toida, they bring a Karban toida, Thanksgiving, ba'abom and yilachma, the 4 kinds of bread, the one of chametz to the amatzah, misnadim, maybe. I will be zidit leis nadu. They never brought Nazirus. Why not? Because a Nazir is called a chaytish. And then it says the chiper olo ma'ashechota ala nefesh. A Nazir is a chaytish. Shimon HaTzadik said that when are they considered a chaytish? Only we have charota is only if they became tamei. If they were tired, there's nothing wrong. They, it's not a problem. Rav Shimon Yochai says no. He says every Nazir, even when you're tired, you're considered a chaytish. So let's just finish on the Mishnah. Amar Abai says, "Baya Shimon Tzadik," and Shimon Tzadik, what we said before, that there's a chet involved, and Rab Shimon, and Rabbi Lozer HaKapar, Kul and Shita Achazei. They both all hold similar, not exactly the same. The Nazir Chaytav, a Nazir is a sinner, but according to Shimon Tzadik, it's only a Nazir who became Tameh. According to Rab Shimon, and we'll see in a minute, Rabbi Lozer HaKapar, it's anyone who even just the first Nazir is considered a Chaytav. Now why? So Rav Shimon says, so he just says you consider chayt. Comes on Elazar Kapar and he explains. Rabbi Elazar Kapar, the Tanya, the great man, the Tanya, we learned Rabbi Elazar Kapar, we have this in Tanya, it says the possible chiper olam hashachot al nefesh. If you became tamei, the nazir has to go ahead and he has to kapara. We got kapara though. Nefesh chotazeh, what nefesh? His own nefesh, even though it's talking about when he was tamei, it's his own nefesh that he Rabbi Elazar Kapar says. Go, let's say with nefesh. Let's say v'chiper olam hashachot. What do you mean al nefesh on his own? What did he do? The fact he denied himself drinking wine. All you did was you deprived yourself of one of the beautiful things that should remain in the world, wine. Someone who fasts and denies all food. Surely, so what do we have here? We have Rabbi Elazar HaKapar, we have Rabbi Shimon, and both say that the nazir itself is a chayt already. Shimon HaTzadik, it says only if it became tamei. Now, if you look at the Torah, when does it say these words v'chiper hanefesh? It's talking about somebody became tamei. So the chayt, according to Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Elazar HaKapar, that even if you did not become tamei, just becoming a nazir already considered a chayt. Why does the pasuk say dafke by somebody became tamei? So you want to ask the question, how did you nazir tamei? How come then the pasuk that says v'chiper and Abba Nefesh is talking about dafke ben l'chayt, not a regular nazir? And the Gemara should the shana bechet, really even a regular nazir is a chayt. But the Torah put it there because you repeat it. First you became a nazir, and then you became tamei, a double chayt. So that's why you bring it. By zaka you say zaka, by chayiv you bring the bad things. So therefore, once you makulkul, will bring you all the other kukulim you did as well. But really, even just a nazir becomes a chet. We already had a few days ago in the Ran that says it's not a chayt gomer. Even though there's a kapar of Shimon says that you feel a chet, it's not a chayt gomer. Or like by Yeledes, Shimon says because she swears I'll never have children again. It's not, it's not really a chayt gomer at all. It just there's a little bit of tinge, a shade of another. Okay, we'll stop there. Yeah, it's a good thing. The Hasidim are the Shainim, the Mesavim, looking for a way to do every single mitzvah in the text as they could.
Wasn't it the Kohen Gadol?
Yeah.
He's the one who was